we're all here to talk about engagement, really. It's around how we engage with our clients, how we maintain really strong engagement online. It's a really competitive industry and a busy marketplace, and I think it's come to light how challenging it can actually be to kind of keep that momentum going of engagement with your clients beyond the live event. I think the live event is often a really great way to get that buzz going and that engagement going, and it can sometimes kind of trickle out. So we just wanted to talk about that and make sure we all come up with some great just tips and takeaways for kind of tackling that. First of all, I want to thank all of our sponsors. So we're hosting it today in this great venue. I know the team here will be doing a few show rounds, so if anyone wants to visit it's like all the great spaces here, Madeline and Sarah are here if they want to wave their hands at the back. They'll be here to give you a quick show round, so do stick around. We also have Noodle Live, who have been doing our badging this morning over at the registration desk, Final Impression, who are providing all the branding, and London Filmed, who are doing all the filming and photography today. So I'd like to get started, mindful of time. So I'd like to actually invite Sarah to come up. Sarah is here to represent the venue, so she'll be just like running a few words by you on what to expect from this venue and how you can get involved. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Felicity. Good morning. Welcome to the fabulous Nobu Hotel London Shoreditch. For those of you that don't know, we opened this summer last year, so we're just about coming up to our first birthday. Delighted to have you all here and delighted to be part of this partnership. The hotel, I'll give you a little snapshot overview. We're a boutique size, 148 bedrooms. This is our main space, obviously natural daylight streaming out into our gorgeous courtyard, which you'll see at 9:40. And we're really flexible, so we'll do private hire of our restaurant. We'll work with your clients to make sure the event goes perfectly. Nobu Hospitality is in the heart of everything that we do. So I'm delighted you're here. I'll be delighted to show you around later if you'd like to see any of the bedrooms or the other spaces. And happy to chat further after this. Thank you ever so much and have a fabulous morning.
I'm here with Jamie, Shara, and Michael to talk about post-event engagement tips, how to keep yourselves from being forgotten, which I think is every event professional's worst nightmare, that you have a great event, really good chats with clients, and then it just goes silent afterwards. So yeah, it should be a good chat. Jamie, why don't you introduce yourself and tell a bit about
Hi everybody. I'm Jamie McAffer, Creative Director at MKTG. We're a full-service events agency operating mainly in the B2B and internal comms area, do a bit of B2C. We've got offices all over the UK, so we're in London, Birmingham, Manchester, Glasgow and Edinburgh. Quite unique insofar as we have everything that you want from an agency, but also we own all of our own hardware and equipment. So we've got fully stocked warehouses all over the country. So we kind of, that mix of agency and tech, and meant to be that whatever I suggest of CD, we can go and deliver. So yeah, that's us.
Hi everybody, my name is Shara Touch. I'm one of the co-founders of Dose Wellness magazine. We communicate to about 35,000 readers a week about all the healthy, brilliant things going on in London. We're about 18 months old, and today is actually the day we launched an events arm, so very good timing. Previous to that, I did actually work at Facebook running their events team. So I launched the business while I was there, and it's all come together to one business.
full circle?
Lovely.
Michael.
Hello everyone, good morning. I'm Michael Brown. What am I? I'm lots of things. I'm founder of 3, live in Brighton. I'm a supporter of a perennially crap football club called Grimsby Town. Why do I mention that? It's because when you support a crap club, you are an optimist. You also think it'll get better. And I think that's really important in this industry currently. So remain optimistic, everybody. I founded, I've done lots of things. I've run a boutique experiential agency, which is part of the management buyout of that, cash my chips in, made a bit of money, that kind of thing. And then I founded, as a joint venture, an experiential and sponsorship agency called MKTG. We're an international agency, so we're currently activating at the World Cup for Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola, a big client of ours. We're also activating in Hyde Park at British Summertime, which goes live today. We do lots and lots of stuff which are purely about engagement across B2B and B2C. As a for instance of that, we brokered Cadbury's. Cadbury's, as of last season, we're one of the sponsors of the Premier League. We brokered that deal. We also activated rights at retail, and that is about engaging Cadbury's retail partnerships as much as it's about engaging their customers, the people that buy chocolate. Obviously, using football to sell the chocolate seems like an unusual pair of bedfellows there, but we live and learn. So, yeah, so Michael, very pleased to meet you all. I'm looking forward to a very engaging session today.
Great. So we thought we'd start first with getting our panelists best examples of who's really nailing post-event engagement. So Shara, why don't you start first?
I'm going to talk very much about the B2C side of things, and in my industry, big global giant Nike. I do a lot of work with them personally and have done in my past career. I have to say, as a brand, digitally and relationship-wise, they really do nail their engagement from their physical activations. I don't know if anyone's ever been to a Nike run club here. They have a fantastic way of endorsing their ambassadors, whether they're fitness instructors in the industry, and then those people become ambassadors for their products. And straight after you've done that run club, you are high on endorphins, you know, had the most amazing experience for an hour and a half, and then you are targeted with an email exactly to your age, if you're male or female, and then products related to the industry that you will go on and buy. We've all been there and done it. So as much as they are a big global dog, I think they're doing a really good job.
Jamie?
I think the Nike was one that I was potentially going to pick up. In that case, to sort of flip that around from our perspective, a client of ours that does it really well, and it's so unsexy, but they do it so well, is a utility company, Scottish Water. Okay, their whole ethos and how they are able to get the funding that they need to invest to keep doing what they need to do in Scotland is by trading in trust. So they have to engage with the consumer. They have to engage with those people and build up trust points. And that's what they, in their boardroom, they talk about trust. They don't talk about profit. So how they engage with the consumer, and we've just done a load of activations at like Royal Highland Show for them, and some other Scottish things that I don't get too involved in. But how they engage with the consumer is fantastic, and then also everybody that works for them, the 8,000 people, are also consumers as well. So how they engage with their own people and make their staff ambassadors is really something that I think they do fantastically. And they do that through all sorts of channels, face-to-face, online, loads of direct mailers to their people at home. They're just everything. They're constantly pushing out, and I think that's a fantastic example of how quite a dull industry can really connect with an audience.
And I think that's a good point that you make there too, about making sure that all of your people are imbued as brand ambassadors as well, so that they can speak really easily.
Well, I think it's particularly in that business, it's unique. Your employees are your customers. Yeah. You can't buy. You turn the tap on, Scottish Water is going to come out if you live in Scotland, you know. So if your people think you're crap,
We guarantee that.
Absolutely, of course you can. You know, if your own internal people think you're crap, then and don't understand why you're doing it and don't believe in the message, then how are they going to take that out to friends down the pub and stuff? You know, it's a brilliant example, I think.
Yeah, no, I'm going to go on the B2C, riffing on what Jamie was saying about, I guess, employee engagement. So, sticking on football, we're not football specialists, but we also work FedEx, not particularly marginally sexy.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. The uniform is.
They're post men and women, aren't they? Let's face it. So we do their relationship with UEFA's Europa League, and one of the things. So for instance, we were at the Europa League final back in May, which is in Lyon in Paris this year, and when you sponsor something like that, one of the things you need, one of the strands of communication is to your employees. It's about making them feeling good about working for FedEx. And so we manage what we call a guest engagement program, where so there'll be probably about 10,000 tickets would be made available to global FedEx employees wherever they are in the world, and that is done very personally. A message from the CEO refers to a selection of FedEx employees who they want to, may have done particularly well, performed well over the past year, and that from that moment that person gets an email from the CEO sitting at their desk in, for instance, Rio, and about inviting them in, and then about the promise of the experience that they're going to get in Lyon, all the management of the flights, the hotels, picking them up from the airport, journey to the VIP lounge, the game itself, watching the game, in company of all the VIPs, and then they're onward, return back to Rio, for instance, but it could be anywhere in the world, is a long-term, probably that process is about 3 or 4 months. That's about a very elongated brand engagement, talking to your own employees. And the other strand on that, which makes everybody about purpose and values, actually. So that audiences have changed, haven't they? Everything, people buy less stuff, and people switch brands if they perceive that the brand is not doing the right thing by the environment, for instance. I'm thinking of Volkswagen, fairly recent history. One of the great things that we do at FedEx to make their employees feel great about working for FedEx. Sorry, I'm hogging the limelight here. Apologies.
Crack on.
Is the player engagement program. You know, where those kids who walk out onto the pitch with the players at the start of the game, they're usually very privileged kids connected to the club in some way, the CEO, etc. What we do for them is find 22 kids from all sorts of disparate backgrounds, socio-economically deprived backgrounds, all over the world, and that creates a lovely piece of social content. So they've got 22 very interesting backstories. And then, so what we do is create a film about each of those person's lives, their family background, their journey into the final, and then create lovely content pieces, which then go back out to, they don't do anything else with it. It's not about advertising, they just communicate it to their employees globally and say, here's what we at FedEx, great people to work for, essentially. So you can be cynical about that, very easy, but what it definitely does is when they do their customer survey, by customer survey I mean their employees, they always get great feedback. So, everyone thinks at FedEx, they've got high engagement with their employees. So that kind of thing works for me.
Okay. I think those are really great examples, but I think what is important to talk about is why post-event engagement is such a tough nut to crack. And I want to encourage the audience to, if you have particular examples of where you've had difficulty with post-event engagement, raise your hand. We've got a roaming microphone, and we can hear from you guys as well. It's not just about these three, really, is it?
No, definitely not about us, though.
So, Shara, how about you? Why do you think it's so difficult?
So many reasons. I think that so much of it is based around relationship with that person that's had the experience, and it's like, how do you speak to them? And to be fair, consumers are so savvy these days. They know if you're sending them an automated email from a CRM system saying, hi, how was your experience? They want that personal touch, whether it's just using their first name, or do you know something about what they did at the event? Is that a possible reach? It's a tricky, intricate detail that you need to learn about your people, and personalization is everything. I think everybody in events knows that that's part of the future. So it's a question of how can we learn about audience activity when they're there? How can we talk to them afterwards? Is it digitally? Is it personally? Do you need to pick up the phone? What was the type of event? Was it big enough to be able to pick up the phone? It's just, there's so much to think about, and it depends on what data you have from that event and what you can do with it.
Yeah, and I think that picks up another really good point about how important data is now.
Yeah. GDPR.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think I was going to sort of the barriers to, or why it's such a tricky nut to crack. I think potentially comes around the word that we use. We talk about event, so we talk about that thing that happens then, where we need to stop referring to things as an event and refer to it as the entirety. So when we're looking at budget, and we're talking about how the client's budget for the event. No, it isn't a client's budget for the event. We need to plan all of the post communication in at that point and think about it in its entirety. So many of our clients are talking about, and then on the day we can do this, and then everyone's so relieved that that's over. Phew, it went okay, didn't it? About a week later, shit. Yeah, But so all of that needs to be built into the whole thing. So I think some of our language and the way that we think about what we're doing, it needs to be sort of talked about as a campaign that has a live thing in it, and all of that needs to be strategized beforehand. We find it particularly internally, with an internal comms audience, that it's all about getting them there, having a great time, making sure they're fed, making sure everybody's had a good time at the piss up afterwards or whatever, and then get home and what's the follow up then, so that needs, and it's important that that's then promoted up to the budget holder, that you need to spend extra to make sure that you are sweating your assets here.
Yeah, I'd build on that. So my agency is experiential in nature, and there's a huge difference between events producers and experiential practitioners. I always get into quite a lot of arguments. There's lots of anyone who I get to pitch against lots of people who claim they're experiential but are actually in fact an event producer. So what's the difference? So because an experiential agency actually is tasked with producing an event at the heart of a campaign, whereas the event producer is solely doing that. It's about the production values of the event itself, and it's about, as Jamie said, did the people in the event have a great time? Whereas the experiential practitioner is a marketing person, so there might be a production expertise, but they're also have to vouch for, guarantee the reason why X client is spending X amount of millions potentially on this, and that's to achieve some marketing metrics, which could be anything: social traction, data capture, content, PR, etc., etc. The experiential practitioner is responsible for that, so therefore you've got integrated marketing people at the heart, and I think there's a disconnect there, so which is a mindset. We'd have to employ integrated marketing people into your event company. So I'm always falling out with event producers around that particular point. And then the other thing is longitudinal studies. Is about, while you're in the event, data capture is this, but having great brand ambassadors in there who are engaging and are very human nature with the people, asking if you can stay in touch. And then ask them to take part in longitudinal studies about the effects this has had over the long term. So this is something, again, I'm sorry to riff on my own client base, Coca-Cola. We look in the UK, so we do stuff all over the world for them, but in the UK we did their zero sugar. So obviously the sugar tax went live this year, April the 6th, this year. They wanted to migrate everything from the classic brand to the zero sugar variant, and that's where, and that will happen right across Europe. The sugar tax is coming in staggered across the EU. One of the things they're quite keen to know is, do people think it's as good as classic Coke in the taste of it? And to do that, they have to keep in touch with the people who are trying it. So we did 11 million live taste tests last year, and then we keep in touch with not 11 million people, but a significant 10% of those people to keep seeing, are you still buying it? Are you still, it has to be served at an ideal temperature, 3.3 degrees for the record, and for it to taste like classic Coke. And are you buying it? Do you still think it tastes the same? So it's when we're doing the live taste test, which could be in a festival, it could be as much as it could be on a train station concourse. Right, we've got really good brand owners saying we need to keep in touch, and here's your reward for doing so. So it's about, I think, the online follow-up piece, rubbish if it hasn't had a human interaction, face-to-face physical interaction that starts with. And obviously we're all blessed because we're all in events, aren't we? And that's the genuine interface between the brand and its consumer. The only thing between them is another human being, and we're all of that. So I think there's too much. I know part of the topic of this seminar today is about the online thing. I think online, for me, is a dead entity if you're not starting out with a human conversation. So.
We've touched a bit, first of all, does the audience, do you have any examples of difficulties with engagement? Anyone? Oh, yeah.
Thank you very much. So my name is Victoria, and I've been running events for 5 years. And as much as I can agree with you in terms of like engaging after the events and the importance of it, I think engaging via email is very difficult. And pick up the phone, yeah, but if you had 150 people attending, it might be very much time consuming. So let's take an example. For example, today, for you, like how would you think the best way for the event organizer to engage with us post-event?
Shara?
I'm a big fan of surveys. I think people love to voice their opinion, and they really love to voice bad opinions. So if you just, I personally would go out to every one of you in an email, I hate to say it, sorry, and ask you, what did you like about it, what not, because it will, one, help us learn for the next time, and you will get to voice your opinion, and hopefully that will make you feel better.
I'm going to give content, actually. So Shara mentioned Nike. We do stuff with Adidas, and they're big on creating social content from out of their events. And advertising has changed, hasn't it, in many ways. They're closed shop advertising agencies are sort of on the way out, really, because lots and lots of advertising now starts in the live space, and that's using customer-generated content, so people in the event sharing the content they create with their devices. But it's also creating for Adidas, we have lots of crews creating content involving their own consumers and then disseminating and creating very personalised bits of content and then disseminating that across retail or other strategic partner channels. So there's a thing we did for the launch of Supercolours for Pharrell Williams, who designed their shoes, and we did 8 separate pieces of content, and during the event they were shared to various chat partner channels. ASOS would be one of those, and then we tracking that, see how it's onward shared through social listening. So during the space of that event, that particular one piece of content got shared 8 million times. So it's about creating personalised and engaging content and making sure you get it in the right place. I can send you a case study of that one.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's very similar. It's about something you've all turned up today, so let's give you something that nobody else that didn't turn up today can get, you know? So it's exclusive just for you here. So I don't know, maybe we could, some pithy nuggets from us that, you know, that we haven't shared today that we could then disseminate afterwards, because, you know, that's a little reward for staying in touch, you know? So kind of, and maybe, you know, I'm today, Shara's Monday, Michael's Friday, you know, so we just keep that thing going. But I think it has to be around, you've turned up, so what am I giving you that means that, you know, that your colleague who didn't bother doesn't get, you know?
There was an interesting thing we did. Shara talked about Facebook and used it to work. This is before GDPR, actually, so I don't think we could do this anymore. But it was just an interesting. So we in some of the events we were doing. It was an experiment with Facebook, actually. We were collecting data of consumers in events and then identifying whatever they told us, identifying lookalikes in other parts of the country, and then targeting them with paid social media, but from the standpoint almost as if they'd been to the events, if they reacted in the same way that someone had been to the event. And in most cases, because we were sort of doing lots of profiling, we're all creatures of habit, haven't we? We all sort of react, we all think we're uniquely individual, but actually we're lots of pre-programmed in the prefrontal cortex and all that suggests we actually have habitual behaviours that are fairly predictable. So we had some great engagements there. It was paid media, but it was, as I said, it was targeting lookalikes of people who've been to our events, social demographic lookalikes, and it worked really, really well. So that's a sort of an odd, again, isn't it, the personal touch. If you're highly personalised, you, Michael, who came to our event, thanks for coming, here's X. But this is, oh, you look like someone who came to one of our events. Is a different thing altogether, isn't it? So,
you turned Michael, you're talking like physically looks like somebody. No, thank you. Yeah, I was saying profile-wise looks like somebody. That's an
profile.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
Although we could have done that with facial recognition.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we've touched on it a little bit, Jamie in particular, about responsibility and who is responsible for making sure that engagement happens and that it's planned for and that it's executed properly. What side do you come down on for that?
It's both of us. Yeah. You know, it is the agency and it is the client. It's always the agency's job to push the client, isn't it? You know, and to probe and to ask more and to interrogate what they want you to do and to suggest a better way to do it and a more engaging way to do it. But it's also the client has to, it's that thinking beyond the event, knowing that you want to do something that's going to continue to reach your audience and thinking about budgeting for that. So Michael and I were talking earlier, it's about often we'll be speaking to events people who are up for all of this. I think it's brilliant. Yeah, we'd love to be able to engage. And then it goes up to, you know, the budget holder and, you know, but I just want to get people's bums on seats and tell them what I want to tell them, you know. So it's about the right route to the senior person as well. So I think it's everybody's responsibility to ensure that the event has as much life as possible. But, you know, we can only take a horse to water. At the end of the day, the stakeholder is the stakeholder, you know. Well, that's what we find internally anyway, very much.
Shara, with your experience at Facebook, I imagine in particular, they were very keen to make sure that engagement happened through their channels. How did you make sure that was imbued?
I didn't.
Really?
Wow.
Facebook run, does anyone here work for Facebook? Just checking. They run at the speed of light. They run, so my role at Facebook, we ran so fast and we had so many events, and the way the team was actually structured was like a service agency within the company.
Okay.
So you sat on a service team and then you worked across the brands, whether it WhatsApp, Facebook, Oculus, Instagram. So there was so much going on at so much time. I actually found it really hard as someone who, I'm very much from a startup background. I live and breathe it. I love the hustle. Going to a corporate company where I didn't see the results or an ROI on any events that we produced. It was like, quick, go, next one, like next brand, don't worry about it, it's not your job, it's agencies, this, that, and the other. It was such a fast-paced environment. So my experience personally, that there really wasn't.
So in that kind of fast-paced environment, how did you make sure that you were continuing to get the right conversations going, that those conversations continued?
At the event itself?
Post-event?
Speaking to the comms team, there were so many different comms teams, that finding out if their goals were met, if I was running a PR event, for example, and if they got the coverage they wanted to from that event.
Michael, what about in terms of responsibility, do you just push your clients to go for it, or do they come to you with it? How does it work on your side?
I don't think there's a set answer, so I think all of the above, absolutely. So do you mean they're pushing them to sign off the budget, or?
Yeah, I think to make it an organic conversation that continues and to get that energy that you have at the activation or the event, how do you make sure that that continues? Where does the responsibility lie?
Well, it's certainly, as a manager director, certainly a lot of it relies on me, but certainly we've all done an event, and as Jane was saying, I think right at the beginning of the conversation, yeah, that went really well, didn't it? But so what's next? But what do you mean by what's next? Am I saying I want another event for this particular client at even greater levels of budget? Or do you mean
Yes.
what's next in terms of
Always yes.
and how do you get that? And obviously that goes back to basic marketing, that you have to prove the effectiveness. And this is where, again, going back to my original train of thought around the difference between an experiential practitioner and an events producer is about the marketing metrics. You have to set the KPIs in front of the event. What are they? Is it about social traction? Is it about selling stuff? Is it about the numbers of data, the amount of data you capture? And have you achieved them, and have you surpassed them? And that's one of those things, have been able to capture all of that and then presenting it back to a C-suite executive. Say, well, you might have spent £1 million, but the return is 10. And that is a failing, I think, generally of the events industry, because they tend not to understand that you're going to spend. I once spent, Tweety Pie, the cartoon character, Warner Brothers, with a I won't name the business, but they make cakes, and it's giant yellow canary type Tweety Pie cake, looked lovely in the imagery, but it cost an absolute fortune. It's more than the royal wedding cake, in fact, which I think was 55 grand, wasn't it? Was that 55 grand?
Get away.
It was.
Somebody spent 55 grand on a cake.
So sad.
No, the cake of the royal wedding, they'll back me up, that was £55,000.
You're reading the Daily Mail, aren't you?
It was 55.
They got it from Greg's, didn't they?
Because the headlines at the time, the average cost of a wedding was 20 grand, and this was 3 times
Wow.
the cost.
The Daily Mail.
No, I don't.
Taxpayers' money.
Anyway, this particular cake was a similar price.
Wow.
It looked great. And it was. I couldn't take it because it was the model. And you think, well, what's the marketing metric that's going to help us achieve? We've only got the people here with the giant yellow cake. How can we guarantee? Why do we need to spend 55 grand on this cake? And that's what a CEO is asking. So do we have to come to have cakes? Don't need to tweet power like this. And the cake producer just didn't understand the marketing metric behind it. Do you know what I mean? So for us, we're saying, okay, how do we justify this cost? And it has to be about the marketing metrics. Going back to. So. And marshalling your argument in terms of marketing metrics, as opposed to, doesn't this production look good, and didn't everybody have a great time?
I think we find that quite difficult within an internal comms landscape. Is that B2C? That you can measure some of that stuff. Sort of employee engagement. That's a less tangible piece. You just got to sort of rely on it. It's there are ways to test it, through surveys and things, but it's less defined, maybe.
I think that's a really good point to make, though, especially regarding the corporate world, because it's budgets are maybe a bit smaller than Coca-Cola.
Yes.
How do you justify spending the money to create those conversations after everything's packed away and everyone's gone home? in a corporate B2B setting, how would you make sure that the conversation continues? Shara?
I'm not the right person to talk about
Okay.
B2B. I'm B2C through and through. Off you go.
Well, I could just throw something in there, which is about, despite the fact you're B2B, everyone who works in is a consumer.
Yeah,
So I
absolutely.
think taking a B2C approach to B2B is where the first principles really. Understanding that we're all audiences and we all buy stuff.
Yeah, and we're all sophisticated. We're all engaged with things in the same way. Just because I'm employed by a company doesn't mean that I don't watch telly or exactly. But I think it's often it's around having those budget conversations at the beginning, because often the budget in B2B is set for the event. It is the event budget, so it's at that time when you're those kick-off meetings and you're at the ideation stage. It's then that you need to push for that stuff. And if you want to do something and you want to make it worthwhile and you want to make it live, then we're going to have to talk about planning that comms plan and assigning budget for it. And it doesn't have to be, so many businesses have all of those internal comms channels, but it's more around consultation as to how we're going to make that really ping out,
Do you know, does anyone know the B2B agency Gyro? Anyone know those guys? They recently did a study with the Financial Times, and they were talking about this sort of thing. I've got a download of it somewhere. If anyone wants to share, get in touch. And they said the single most effective way of post B2B event engagement is by sharing thought leadership arising from your event. So education really is the best way to keep in touch, as opposed to, do you want to buy something else, or wasn't that a great event? It's about, is there any thought leadership that arises out of that? And that's certainly a program we do. We have an engagement program with our clients, and it goes on 3 strands. It's about entertainment, education. So are you getting out there face to face, having a drink with your clients, so you can talk about stuff? So that's one thing, that FaceTime, the human thing. The other is, the big thing for us is education. So what's happening out there in the markets? Do you know this? Put it into your clients' noses. Here's a thought leadership piece. And if you can create your own thought leadership, even better. So that's something we engage in as well. And then, of course, the other reason to get in touch with a client is, do you want to buy stuff off me? So you can only do that if you've got the indication that the entertainment right.
It reminds me of a work we've recently done last year for Panasonic Business. They tough pads and tough devices. This stuff that you sign on the door with your, So those are sort of super rugged handheld devices. So, but that was a B2B kind of. They're selling them to the military, to Royal Mail, those kind of things. So, and they have this big event every year where they just get the guys there and they tell them, we've now got a new chip in our thing. And, everybody turns up, everybody goes up for a piss up afterwards. They all go home, great, a few deals aside. But we wanted to kind of try and flip that. So we thought, let's test how rugged these bloody things are. So we sent one up into space, on these weather balloons. Yeah. So we sent that up into space. And it burst and fell down, and you only found out whether it survived by turning up to the event. Obviously, they weren't going to tell you it didn't survive, but it did. This thing fell down from space, but the whole event was, there was somebody there talking about ToughPad for a minute part of the day, but the rest of it you were there to. Somebody from the military talking about why data security is so important for them. Somebody from utilities companies talking about how they use products. So it was absolutely an expo around thought leadership and around picking up information, and then all of that. From the bits you didn't go to can be shared out later and drip fed out through, plus follow-ups to this, the thing going into space and stuff. So it's, and that comes back to sort of the exclusive content and having the best way to engage an audience is actually having something to bloody tell them, isn't it? And have something to say,
Could I ask just one thing, just a favour, just on the phones? Would you mind Googling how much the royal wedding cake costs?
Just do it.
Favourite point.
Yeah. Get back to us after the
What kind of trends do you think are the easiest on tight budgets to trickle down and make sure that engagement works, Shara?
I'd say creating Instagram moments. Okay. It's something I spend my life doing at present. Ironically, having spent the time at Instagram creating Instagram moments. I do a lot of B2C partnerships with brands to execute events for Dose, my now business. And every brand brief we receive at the moment is create something that they're going to share online. And I am from a startup background, so it's like, how do you do that cost effectively? people, as sad as it is, love to pose against logoed walls.
Yeah.
Especially in the fitness industry, you create an experience where they can do something, a boomerang shot, or use an Instagram platform, and you will get a reach as long as you tell them what hashtag to use. So I think that's a big trend I'm seeing at the moment. I find myself brainstorming balloon walls and hair flicks, and last year we had 700 people in a warehouse in East London doing a drumming workout to the beat of the music, like Michael Jackson with a live drummer, with weighted drumsticks. This sounds totally bonkers, I realise every time I say it. And we just did. We put up a logo wall, which cost such a little amount of money, and had someone there with a phone, what are they called? Holding your phone in a tripod, telling them what to do. And they just went wild with their drumsticks, and we managed to get like 75% of the people that were there to put a moment online, which was making the client really, really happy.
We're actually running out of time. We've talked so long. It's been so great. But we have time for a couple questions from the audience, if anyone has. Yeah.
So I work for a business-to-business company, and I think it's hard to convince them that even an Instagram is a good idea in general. So how would you guys say in the business-to-business environment to sell that these things matter, especially when your clients are the people you're having these meetings with? Like, what kind of marketing goes into that, and so that's different than business to consumer? Can you repeat the question? Yeah. So how do you convince these business to business companies that this kind of marketing is important?
Sorry, you go.
No, I think it really depends a lot on the type of business that you are. We do quite a bit of financial services that we work with, and incredibly conservative, and obviously very sort of risk adverse with their clients. And you know what? It's a really slow process. It's just having those conversations, keep having those. So the amount of times we kind of, as an event supplier rather than experiential supplier, but we keep pushing, and we do get a lot of knockback, but it's just, you just need to keep kind of pushing and pushing. But we find there are certain clients that just are too conservative. We don't want any social. We can't be seen to be enjoying ourselves. We can't be seen that this event actually looked good and people had a great time. So there are certain doors that you keep pushing at, and maybe they won't let you that much. Sorry.
I think personally, again, I'm going to speak from B2C, but it's relative. It depends on the event goal. It's something we never had spoken about, and Michael touched on it. Is it to educate the audience that's attending the event? Is it for PR and coverage of the event? Is it for social media reach? So it really does depend on what that client wants from their moment.
Yeah, I'm going to use a fact, because we did events for Facebook, and we did so again, talk about the World Cup. Facebook had this lovely position about their platform around the world. It was called the world's biggest stadium, so the place to go to learn about football in the run-up to the World Cup. So this was at the start of the year. Was Facebook, and I did love that creative notion of it's the world's biggest stadium. And they wanted to go out to every single media agency to convince media agencies to buy Facebook products to obviously take advantage of the World Cup. And obviously a massive part of that, and Facebook are in this, is about the content that you need. You need to show the content. Is Facebook genuinely the world's biggest stadium? If so, how can I watch football through it? And you have to prove that with lots of content. So I think it goes back to, is it the right client? Who is your client, by the way?
I work for Newland Chase, so it's a legal services company, but our clients are from all different types of sectors all over the world. Yeah. And so I feel like it's hard to get one single content that goes to everyone. But my biggest thing that I'm trying to change now is, you guys keep saying be educational if you're business to business, but even clients don't want to just read boring articles all the time.
Absolutely, yeah.
But do you know what your client wants to read all the time?
Well, all clients are very customized.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to do is, I used to work for a company called Worthington Industries, and it's a steel manufacturer globally. Okay. And they post about their people all the time in fun events, and their business to business. And so I'm kind of just figuring out a way to make our company's branding and content not even just educational, but interesting, that people actually want to read about it, or what is the purpose,
Yeah, I think that's what we're saying. I wouldn't suggest you send a boring article to anybody. Absolutely, education isn't necessarily boring. So it is about your technique.
This is the angle, isn't it?
It's your tailored approach. So thought leadership is, if you're in this business, then this is, you could say this, not claiming that we're thought leaders at all, so I won't claim that, but it's about tailoring your program to your client. So going back to what Shara said, personalised touch. So I don't think education necessarily is boring, but it's better than saying, do you want to buy this off me? Isn't it? So the three strands for me, for what I do, is education, entertainment, and that's probably the more fun bit, and hard sell. I need to alliterate that with something unique. If I haven't got that, so if any ideas, then let me know.
Great. Sorry to cut you off there, but I'm sure the conversation can continue afterwards. Did we find out? Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, so go on.
It was £50,000.
What site?
Yeah.
What site are you looking at?
I did look at a few.
Express.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, very reputable.
For a cake. There you go.
Wow.
Great. Well, I want to say thank you to Jamie, Shara, and Michael, and thank you to EventLAB and HireSpace. They have an event coming up in October. Registration is open, so get on their website and register for that. And thank you to you guys for being such a great audience.
Thank you.
Thank you.